What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions. You guys know what it is. Today, it is the 11th of April, and I'm just gonna start sharing my screen, and we're gonna get right to it. So I'm gonna actually wait for a couple people to get fully situated and stuff like that. Um, if I'm not mistaken, everyone's gonna want me to break down Drip, Gush, and the gold futures as well. I'd be more than happy to do that. Let me just give it 1 second. Once everyone sees that I am online, can you guys let me know that you guys can see me? Let's see. Just let me know once you guys can see me that you guys are all set to go. So just be like, hello, hey, what's up? There we go. I forgot to eat breakfast. All right. Okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you guys again. So let's go ahead and actually just make this, I'm going to be a little bit smaller here. And there's been a lot of talk, or there's a lot of questions, right, about drip and kind of what's going on. So um, first of all, we usually use, I talked about it yesterday, and even before I took a position, when we were doing technical analysis, based on previous patterns and stuff like that, we're able to see that based on previous patterns on the 180-day chart for forward/CL, which is a future that I use as a reference to the overall pattern for drip, you can see that it's had a previous resistance at around a price point of $66. And it looks like IO just broke above a certain resistance. So $66, we can see that it gets pretty close here, pretty close here, pretty close here. Ended up hitting around that same price point as well. Looking at why when it was actively trending up, I think yesterday, it was like it made new highs. It was like right around here, and I was like, hey, it does have potential. It's actively trending up. What's a potential resistance that it might peak out at? And it obviously makes sense on why it could potentially make highs at around 65 to 66. So there's no question about that, right? Looking a little bit closer into that 5-day, 5-minute chart, we could see that yesterday it did, hit around very close to $66, and it acted as a resistance. When I was looking at this, I saw this thing starting to pull back during, extended hours, and I started seeing a slight pullback. Obviously, how do you know when something is pulling back? Again, it was trading in between the bottom VWAP and the middle VWAP. It's showing signs of somewhat of a downtrend. But right as right as soon as it got closer to the market open, you can see that it actually started actively trying to trend up. Right, hit highs of 66.44, which is great. For all those that we're still wanting to invest in Gush and stuff like that. But as of now, you can see on the 1-day, 1-minute chart that it's still actively trending up. We still have an overall resistance at $66, and the overall pattern reflects the same thing. So if we go and take a look at drip, we can see that drip is consolidating. It's getting really close to that 1060, 1070 price point, which is currently where it has its current support. And before I took my position yesterday, I just and I want you guys to tune in towards the end of the day. A couple people were what's it called? Were starting to understand the overall patterns of drip. So the reason that I took a position on drip was looking at /CL, right? So /CL was showing signs of it being so overbought based on previous resistance levels that it showed that then Gush due to that, right? So Gush has been having an amazing push, right? Gush is over $26. It made new highs. It broke the overall resistance that we were previously very comfortable with at around $24. But if you guys saw my videos, so Gush just broke above. It just made new highs. When something is actively trending up, there's you can prepare for the inverse of it to start to reverse, but you going against the pattern that's actively trending up, there's always this form of risk involved. And before you even take that position, like that should be known. And that's what I talked about in my video, not only just in the video that I filmed like with TechBud Solutions, but in the video that I filmed in like the live chat as well. And it was a little odd for me, not odd, but I knew it was going to happen when I said that, hey, I'm taking a position on drip because of how oversold it is that I think that it is, looking at like the big picture. So not just thinking about drip within the next couple of days, but looking at drip, with based on overall patterns, I can see that drip is definitely on the oversold side, right? It's had a really strong push down, and due to that, even if it recovers to $12, I felt like the margin from $11 to $12, that margin of profit was worth it for me, right? I did get in a little bit early, and I called that out. There's no confirmation. I told everyone that hey, if you're not already on drip, probably you should not be in it. But people still decided to get in it, and even as of right now, I'm down on drip, right? And it continues to make lower lows, but I'm not too worried because I understand the overall pattern on drip and how even if it does sell off, it's just only a matter of time. Like Gush isn't going to continue to push up forever, right? And because of me being able to understand that and being comfortable with that pattern, like yeah, sometimes it does have like stronger pushes than others, but it's when you don't understand like that specific pattern that I feel that you can become very discouraged or very uneasy when the inverse of it continues to push up and the opposite continues to push down. You either have a dollar value that you invested that's way too high, you continue to add to your position as it continues to sell off, which is something that we always say to not to do, or you just don't understand the pattern. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with not truly understanding the sorry. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with people becoming uncomfortable with like their position on either drip or people still holding Gush or whatever the case may be. I think that this just like there was a lot of comments on and this is like the only upsetting part is like you guys are part of like our Learn Plan Profit group, right? So before that, and this is why it's so important that before you even take a position, regardless of what I'm trading, you need to understand the pattern. And if you don't understand it, then not even just for the sake of the money, but just the sake of like the actual actually understanding how to invest. That's the thing that that was like very discouraging when I started seeing like comments, actually people saying like, oh my god, like what's going on, like I have no idea. When I start seeing that people actually don't understand what's going on yet they still invested, and you're part of the Learn Plan Profit group, that is letting me know that you either haven't gone through the entire course, you have not really understood or made sense of one of the biggest videos that we have, and it's like don't take a position if you don't understand the pattern, or don't trade based on other people's opinion. And it's yeah, I just wanted to remind you guys that, this is a perfect example, regardless of, my success rate with trading or whatever the case may be. If you don't understand the pattern and I'm getting in, especially before a reversal, and I talk about it, that there's a form of risk involved with that, why take the position? Let's say if Gush goes all the way up to $30 and drip drops all the way down, to $5. How upset or discouraged are you going to be? First of all, you didn't understand the pattern. Second of all, you lost that money, a dollar value that you're uncomfortable with, and you're probably still adding to your position. It's just a whole mess. And I just want to remind you guys that I was upset yesterday. Not based on I didn't care about how drip was performing. I knew that it was selling off, and it made sense why it was going to continue to sell off. That wasn't the upsetting part. The upsetting part was that we had so many members within the Learn Plan Profit group that we've been working so hard with, right? So much with, that they still took a position when there was no confirmation and when they didn't understand the pattern. That made me feel like I let you guys down, or like I'm not doing something on my part, right? And that makes me feel, it goes back to like when I first started TechBot Solutions, when I first started, even trading lower cap stocks, when our group really started to grow. And this is through the free group of TechBot Solutions. I started to post like my entry points and my exit points, and I told people like when it was that I was buying and when it was that I planned to sell, and then people started mimicking my trades. And then when so many people mimic my trades, people would do well, they would do well, they would do well. But then one time when they would mimic my trades and it doesn't go well, and I cut losses, but they didn't understand the pattern and they don't cut losses quick enough, then everyone gets discouraged and then throws me under the bus, right? And I just want to remind you guys that like if I see that happen again, then regardless if you're part of the Learn Plan Profit Group and stuff like that, I don't mind talking about the patterns and why it is that I see value. But then talking about my entry points and exit points are not going to be something that I would discuss, because I'm not here again to spoon feed anyone, regardless if you're part of the free group or the Learn Plan Profit Group. I just want to remind you guys that like this isn't like a place where people get spoon fed. And I need each and every single one of you to like make that commitment that you guys will not make that mistake again. Like it just can't happen. If you're going to take a position, then you have to take ownership of it, and you need to understand what it is that you're investing in. And if you don't, then again, just don't take it. It's literally like I'm asking you to do like nothing, right? Like just don't take the position if you don't understand it. So and I can say it time after time, but it's just upsetting, right? And I'm sorry for those that I let down that really didn't understand those rules. But I just want to remind you guys how important that is. Gush is actively trending up. I talked about it yesterday. Drip is actively trending down. I talked about it yesterday. I would not invest in Drip if you're not invested already. I invested in Drip. First of all, I'm a little bit more experienced, right? I think we could note that. Not even just that, but I invested in a certain way that I felt comfortable, taking the position. And then I saw so many people after they kind of did the same thing as me, because I talked about taking a smaller position. They started to average down as Drip continued to fall, and then they ended up being in 100%, but it was still descending. And I get that that's a really bad feeling. Number one mistake: we don't add to a position that's falling. We add when it starts to reverse, or at least that's what I do. And it's just so many rules were broken yesterday. I just don't understand it. Like, we spend literally hours a day recapping this, and yet everyone just in one day, throws it all under the bus, right? For one trade. And yeah, just wanted to talk about that very quickly. And if you guys have any suggestions, I want to encourage you guys to direct message me, but there's at least 577, a little bit over almost 600 of you that are watching this. So I wouldn't, not all of you direct message, but and guys, it's not like I'm not like upset or anything, or I'm not sad, but you guys know that I try to like, I don't even care about like me taking a loss. Like it's not even about that to me. It's about like how our group is doing, and that's much more important to me. Like even if I take like $1,000 loss, I would say that's less irrelevant to me than, or like that's less important to me than making sure that everyone within like the Learn Plan Profit Group and TechBot Solutions group is doing well. I'd much rather take the loss than everyone else, and you guys know that. And I need you guys to, if you guys can do me the biggest favor, just before you take a position, just understand the pattern. And if you don't, just hold that finger and don't swipe up for Robinhood, or don't push execute for TOS or whatever brokerage it is that you are using. So other than that, I don't want to spend too much time just talking about that. Like it's just something that happened, right? But very quick. So for those that are okay. All right. So one thing that I do want to talk about, Gush, is yes, it's overbought, and there's a lot of hype on it, and /CL, there's a lot of good news, and that's why I felt like it had such an aggressive push up. A very good confirmation on when /CL will start actively trending down is, when do you know when something is actively trending down? Again, take a step back and just keep it simple. It's when it trades between the middle VWAP and the bottom VWAP, right? So what do? Let's just set our alerts when it breaks below that. Very simple, nothing crazy. Let's just keep it very simple. So set an alert when it breaks below that, and we can set that. So right now it's still on its way to make new highs. So that's, and again, this is /CL, so it's not a direct correlation. It's not exact. We've talked about this before for Gush and Drip. It does have a somewhat of a correlation, but not exact, right? So with that understanding, I mean, you still want to make sure that you understand the overall patterns. We can see that Drip is trying to push up. Keep a very close eye again for that middle VWAP as it's trying to push up, but again, that's going to be acting as a resistance. You guys should all know that since you guys have gone through the course. The EMA is actively trending up. One thing that I want to kind of look out for is the overall price point of $11. Not only do I want this thing to start pushing up, but once it starts breaking above $11, that's ideally where I think we're going to start seeing a little bit more momentum, a little bit more of a push up, that it's going to start actively trending up, and I think that's going to be very attractive. So I have all these alert sets as they continue to go up. I'm going to keep the group up to date with the overall patterns and stuff like that, and let's keep it simple. Let's have fun. Let's as of right now, it's kind of just a waiting game. If you don't want to wait, then you can cut losses or cover profits wherever it is that you're at right now, and you can get back in if you see value in Drip, and if it starts to actually reverse a little bit more aggressively, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Where did Gush go? Yeah, so we could see that Gush is now starting to try to push down below the EMA, which is something that I want to see, because if you go on the 1 day 1 minute chart, it looks like it was trying to act as a support, and it looks like it is trying to consolidate there. We want to see it continue to get rejected, or for those that are invested in Drip, want to see Gush to continue to get rejected by this EMA in the middle VWAP. So as it pushes up, again, we want to see it get rejected, push down, and that would be very attractive for Drip. And again, it's a very common pattern time after time. I mean, I can't talk about it like how common this is, right? Every time that it pushes up, it reverses, and then Drip follows, and then when this thing starts to push up, then Drip falls, and then Gush pushes up, and then it reverses, right? So again, let's just wait for the reversal. It's a very simple pattern, right? So nothing crazy on that one. It's just a waiting game as of now. So Ricky, we all just want to be successful, and you make it look so easy. Well, I hope that's not a bad thing, but I mean, I appreciate that. It's just, yeah. Let's see. There we go. And this is something that we want to see also for Drip. What is it that we want to see? That we want to see the inverse of Gush to do. So as you can see, it's showing this reversal potential, right? It pushed up, pulled back. We want to see it bounce on this EMA to confirm that continuous uptrend pattern, and then for it to continue to make new highs. So that could be somewhat attractive. Is it going to do it? I don't know. We kind of have to wait and find out. But we talked enough about Drip and Gush, and I know I'm going to have to talk about it again for the people that are part of TechWhat Solutions. So that's going to be a fun conversation. Yeah, I just broke on a VWAP. Yep. I'm just gonna spend, so now people want me to break down the gold futures, right? So /GC, let's go ahead and take a look at that 180-day analysis. Same thing happened, guys, and I did talk about this, gold was pushing up. I think it was gold and /CL, and natural gas was pulling back. And I talked about, hey, it looks like based on previous patterns that it's going to try to reach that 1360 price point. And that's exactly, the price point that it almost hit, right? It pushed up, and then it's showing some signs of a reversal. Again, keep a very close eye on the direction of the EMA to have a better understanding of, the direction that it's going to be pointing. But just take into consideration, right now, /GC is so overbought that it would almost make sense that it's only a matter of time for JDST and DUST to start to reverse. Does that mean 100% that people should take a position on JDST and DUST? No. Very simple. There is no confirmation of a reversal, especially with how volatile the market has been, especially with these gold futures, right, that will have a direct correlation to our overall economy and how it is that it's performing. I don't think so, right? Let's just set our alerts. We can set our alerts when it breaks above 50, which is a more relevant, I think, price point that we are all much more comfortable with. And when it starts to reverse back up, look at all this margin that we still have, to capitalize on, right? I mean, over 13%. Let's not be greedy. Let's wait for the reversal confirmation. And once we see that /GC and JNUG got rejected by that resistance and we see it actively trending down and being rejected, then that would be in favor of JDST and DUST, as these are bull ETFs that will start actively trending up, right? So yeah, I mean, that is it. So JNUG just hit highs of $15, and that's great. I mean, it hasn't hit $15 in quite a bit. The previous time it did hit highs of 16. So, potentially a price point, it's still actively trending up. So I think 16 is much more realistic than a pullback. That's, I think, how everyone should think right now. Don't think that, hey, it's 15, it's going to peak out. Wait for the reversal confirmation, and then we can go from there. So I'm going to start breaking down. So for all those that are joining us for the first time, I'm sorry that this is the first video or the first live chat that you guys that this is the first live chat that you join us. I'm not sorry about it. So it's a good lesson learned and stuff like that. But it's just, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that I want to hold everyone accountable for what it is that they're doing, even if you're part of like the Learn Plan Profit Group. I want to make sure that you know that this isn't going to be a place that's going to be any easier to take positions. Like, yes, you have me and you get to message me and ask me like more direct questions, but I'm still not going to tell you where to buy and where to sell. And as long as you know that, I think you should use it as motivation to try harder to, so when we do work together, it's a little bit more effective or efficient. So, yeah. Mr. Ricky is pissed. No, I'm not pissed. There's nothing. I mean, life is great. So nothing to be pissed about. Other than, no, I was gonna roast you or throw you under the bus. One of my roommates is right next to him and stuff. That's all right. So are you still actively trading AMD, Mr. Shannon Wise? I am not. I've not been. No. AMD has been extremely volatile, so I've been kind of trying to stay away from many stocks that offer that type of pattern. So Todd is like, roast. Right here, Todd. CPG, yeah, let's talk about that. Actually, I really like CPG. If I remember correctly, this is one that offers a very horizontal pattern, and we've talked about this one multiple times. Previously, we talked about it getting rejected by the SMA indicator, just to stay on high alert. But again, the overall patterns were from around 660 to overall highs of about $8. I'm not too sure how many of you were able to get into this position, but we called it out when it broke above that 180-day EMA, and it's been actively trending up ever since. As you can see, it's becoming a little bit more on the overbought side. Based on previous patterns, this has been a price point on where it's peaked out at. So as it's getting a little bit closer to the resistance, and if you're still in it or considering to buy, then just know that, hey, it's a little bit more on the overbought side. Yes, it does have margin to continue to trend up, but again, this is a resistance level. So don't you think that, since we're already so close, it would be better to wait for the push up, the bounce, validating that as a support, and then for it to continue to show that uptrend. And I would feel much more comfortable to trade it from this margin and higher. Because right now, I'd be a little bit scared that, hey, it's going to hit here, it's going to hit here, and then that margin of profit isn't necessarily going to be worth it for me. So yeah, so actually we got an alert for IO. So I think that was Colleen, right? Yeah, what's going on, Colleen? So yeah, I mean, we talked about the pattern that IO was showing. I mean, it was one of the stocks that was actively trading up, and it's one of the top stocks that we had for the past 2 weeks. We can see that there's a lot of consolidation happening from like the lows of like 24 to the highs of usually around 27 to 27.50. Today it broke that pattern, and it's still showing signs of an uptrend pattern. I would keep a very close eye for the potential resistance at around $28, as there's been a lot of consolidation at that price point. The EMA line is still pointing up, but just note that that has been a previous resistance level or support level. So again, old support levels become new resistance levels, like a lot of you, or all of you should know. And with that understanding, the candles are still pushing up. Keep a close eye out for that resistance, and keep a close eye out for a pullback at close to or near to the EMA, if you're looking for a potential swing trade. I think that IO, since we've called it out, especially as of now, because it's not even just consolidating anymore, it's actively trading up, and that's something that I find very attractive. So just make sure that you do your own due diligence and that you understand the overall pattern. So yeah, let's see, X, yeah, X definitely pulled back today. I like that. Well, because I got out of it yesterday, so it's pulling back. Remember we sold. So again, if you're gonna call something out, please don't just put the ticker symbol. Please make sure that you put it in like the ticker symbol format. Well, this is a little bit more of a due diligence, so we'll go ahead and break it down. So again, if you're gonna call something out, just make sure that it's something that's actively trending up and that you want me to confirm the overall pattern on. So we can see that MU is trying to show, so this is Micron Technologies, we've talked about this one before. Based off previous patterns, SMA line was usually where you could indicate like, hey, this might be a good potential buy. Due to this recent sell-off, due to the I think market volatility and its overall earnings as well, had a pretty drastic sell-off. Right now it's showing signs of a potential good buy potential, but we want to make sure that we get in when it's actively trending up. One thing that I do want you guys to see is that it's been making lower highs. Do you guys see that? So with that understanding, I don't find that to be very attractive. I want there to be a breakup pattern, and there to be an overall, what's it called, like a reversal that, hey, it's actually going to start actively trending up just like it has been before, because right now it's not performing the way that it's performed before, right? We have to wait for it to break above the SMA and for it to continue that uptrend pattern. So that's why I'm going to set my alert right here, just so we can get reminded that, hey, it's starting to actively trend up. We could revisit it and then do a technical analysis after that. So right now I would feel like this is much more at a watch rather than an actual buy. Let's see, RSX. Yeah, so actively trending down, not something that I find attractive. No signs of a reversal. I mean, you can try to set your alert for the price point of 20, and the overall volatility here is a little bit too volatile for my taste. This is one where the risk is a little bit too high and very inconsistent, and that's not something that, I find very reliable. I know, where's my neck pillow? I left it upstairs. Apologize. I know my neck is a little, it's lonely. Appreciate that. I'm glad that makes sense. So CRS entry point. Okay. So CRS is actively trending up. Again, this one's a little bit more volatile. I can just tell that it has low volume. Yeah, so low volume, not a lot of usual movement during market open. You can see that based on previous patterns, it does try to gap up. Overall, oh man, I want to yawn. I'm sorry about that. But the overall resistance right around the SMA indicator should be at around $50. We could see that it is actively pushing up. I would keep a very close eye out for this EMA. I would wait for a slight pullback confirmation because it is a little bit overextended. So with that understanding, also the MACD indicator is starting to show signs of like a lot of consolidation, so it might not even get to that price point. So yeah, and the pattern hasn't been very consistent. It's actively trending down below the SMA, something that you need to take into consideration. So right now this would be more of a resistance than it would be of a support like it was before. So instead of it actively trending up, I mean, it can continue to trend down. It could continue to make lower highs, right? So last time it hit highs of here, this time it could hit highs of this and then continue to descend and make lower lows as well. So again, just take a step back, look at the overall pattern, look how it was previously actively trending up, and then what's different now. SMA indicator, now it's making, lower lows, and that's the potential sign for higher lows as well. So BC and so on. All right, so we could see that this thing is trying to consolidate. So it's doing a lot of consolidation. It's not actively trending up though. There's not a lot of yeah, and I can also see the volume's low here. I don't know anything about this company. It looks like I've never done a technical analysis on this. Volume isn't very aggressive. It's not actively pointing up. I would want to, when it comes down to opportunity cost, I don't want to just have my money invested in something and for it just to stay stagnant, right? Just to consolidate for the time that I have it invested. I want it to start showing signs of an uptrend pattern, to be active, right? So like active uptrending stocks. And as of now, this thing's consolidating a little bit too much. Like very, very similar pattern. There's like IO. IO was consolidating for a while, yeah, but the margins that it was consolidating on were about like 5% plus, so it was worth it for potential short-term swing trade. When it comes down to BC, I don't see those margins to be necessarily worth it too much. They're about 2 to 3%, and like I don't know anything about this company, so I'd much rather set an alert, wait for there to be a break of pattern for it to actively start trading up, and it would be much more relevant or active for me to revisit this one and see if it's going to, actually continue to trend up. So thank you again for the call out. Oh, the next one. So this one's showing signs of a descending pattern. We've talked about this one before. It continues to make lower lows. It continues to make higher lows. I do see this to be a potential short-term swing trade. I was actually talking to Sergio about it yesterday, about descending patterns, right? Like descending patterns can be profitable, but does it make sense when you're first starting out? So I made I used like an analogy yesterday of like, when you're first learning how to ride a motorcycle, like yes, you can do wheelies, right? Like it is possible, but for your success rate to, right as you get on a motorcycle for the first time, to do something that's that dangerous or that risky, like yes, it is possible, but there's also a very high risk that you might fall and you might crash, right? But if you focus on and that's the same thing. So yes, it is possible to make money off of Zone, right, or XONE, or it is possible to make money off of descending patterns. But when you're first starting out, it's a little bit more difficult to understand these specific patterns and good entry points and exit points and overall indicators that tell you that when something is actively trending up and trending down. And that's why I just say from when you're just starting out, I wouldn't focus on descending patterns. If you want to be a little bit risky and you understand how descending patterns work, then it is above the EMA. Overall resistance should be right around where this line is at. So anywhere from around 10 to 15% is usually what it might have to offer. So good call out in that perspective. Just note that it is descending. Up to you. There's just another risk that you add to your plate by trading a series of stocks or ETFs like that. See a couple people talking about Tesla. Tesla's around 308. Yeah, no, Tesla's pushed up quite a bit today. But it's still, if you guys can still see Tesla right now, just a lot of consolidation at around 310 to 300. And again, just too much consolidation. Yes, there is potential for profit there, but it's almost showing signs of a peak formation. The SMA is showing more of a resistance. The EMA trying to act as a support. But it's consolidating a little bit too much. We really need to start seeing some upward movement, and if not, then we'll start to see this thing to start to descend and continue that downward pattern. And again, be on high alert for that. You don't want to get stuck on that. So do you see kind of what's going on right now with drip? This is something that I really, really need you guys to understand. Every time that drip tries to bounce and hits that middle VWAP, it gets rejected and it continues to make lower lows. We want to see the middle VWAP to no longer be pointing down. So if you would put a cursor or an arrow at the end of the middle VWAP, it's still pointing down. We want to see it start to consolidate so much that it's horizontal, and then that there's a break of pattern, it pushes up, and then the middle VWAP starts to push up for there to be an upward confirmation or some form of upward confirmation. Right now, it's continuing to make lower highs, and that's not something that's very attractive. That's also something that you need to know, that when if it's at a price point where, if we're trying to sell drip right now, and let's say drip was at like $13, and it was showing this pattern of like it hit here, it pulled back, it hit here, and it's making lower highs, that's an indication that, hey, there might be a potential reversal coming in soon, and it might start to sell off. Just again, we've talked about these patterns before. I just want to make sure that you guys all understand them. Okay, so I'm going to do two more breakdowns. So WTI was one that was called out. X just broke below 35.21. That's good to know. So WTI, looking a little bit more on the overbought side, $5 resistance based on previous patterns. It is actively trending up. It's a little bit overextended. You can see that it's becoming more on the overbought side due to opportunity costs with the current price point right now of like 480 and the resistance that it has to offer at around $5. If it hits that price point, it's about 5%. Looking how overbought it is, close to that SMA line, which it normally does pull back to. That potential for losses are a little bit greater. So that's why I don't find WTI at the current price point that it's at too attractive. So I would set my alert for closer to the SMA or the EMA if you're thinking about trading this one, and then just to take into consideration the overall resistance that it will have at around $5. Let's see. And so the yawn begins. Now let's look at DGAS. So DGAS has been showing a very consistent. So again, you can look at the patterns for natural gas, and it's been natural gas has been showing slightly a descending pattern to its overall support at around 260. Let's take that into consideration. The support for based off previous patterns for natural gas is going to be around 260 to 250. With that understanding, it's continuing to make lower lows, and this is a direct correlation over to UGAS. Now DGAS is the inverse ETF, and that's why I think that based on this pattern, overall resistance would be anywhere around from $32 to $34, and it continues to make higher highs, right? So with that understanding, right now it is selling off. We need to wait for some form of confirmation of a potential reversal, maybe around $28, maybe around the current price point of $29. But something that's going to indicate that it's going to start to reverse and start to trend up, and then it could potentially, based on the previous patterns that it's had, we could even go in the past 5 days, the past 5 days, 5 minutes. Do you see this ascending uptrend pattern? It continues to make higher highs, which is very attractive, and also lower highs as well. So not exact. Pre-market hours, it did pull back lower than it did before the previous time, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? So it makes it pulls back, it shows that reversal pattern. Let's just, it's still actively trending down below the middle view up in the EMA. We can look a little bit closer if you guys want to. But if you're looking for a short-term swing trade, maybe look at the, the 5-day, 5-minute chart, whatever makes more sense to you. That, if I'm not mistaken, it's only reversed intraday, like once or twice. Let's see. Yeah, because a lot of the reversals happen during pre-market hours. So it reversed here, and that's when it broke above the middle view up in the EMA. So again, that's the same confirmation that we want to wait for. There's a breakout right there as well. And this one was a really solid break right as market opened. Wow, that's freaking crazy. That would have been a nice entry to get in. Boom, peak, sell, and then get out of that one. So right now you could see that DGAS is definitely selling off. No indication for a reversal. Let's just wait for the overall reversal confirmation. We want that EMA line, the SMA, and the middle view up to start pointing up. And then based on previous patterns, we could try to sell anywhere close to, $31 to $32 if you see that potential to be worth it. If not, simply don't trade it. So, yeah. Ricky, are you in drip or did you cut losses? What's going on, Muhammad? So I'm still in drip. Again, my position size was small enough that I wasn't too worried about how, heavy I went in on drip. So that's why, I'm comfortable with my swing trade. Again, we're trying to focus on quality trades. Did I get in too early? No question about it. Did I know that I was getting in too early? 100%. So I just got in to get my foot in the door. I thought that Gush was a little bit too overextended, so that's why I didn't want to focus on that one. But obviously I was wrong, and but because I was wrong and because my position was so small, it still didn't devastate me. I know it's just a matter of time for it to show on a full-on reversal, and I think by the end of the week we can get drip to push up. And if we look at the overall pattern that drip has to offer, that even if it does end up making lower highs, right, as it's been doing, let's say it hits highs of $12 from the average price of $11 to the overall highs of about $12 to about 9%. So just think about that. With a $25,000 account being able to cover 9%, I can cover nearly $2,500 profit just on one trade. Yes, it sucks because I might be down right now, but again, it's the potential for profit outweighing the potential for loss, and that's why I found it so attractive. So yeah, that's kind of my breakdown. Time. All right. So I am so that's it for doing the technical analysis, guys. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure that you guys could still see me. I was gonna zoom in, but no, like that's not something you guys want to see. Yeah. And I am tired. But yeah, I mean, I have my alerts. This is going to be a swing trade for me on drip, right? Other than that, I'm not really looking at anything else. Tesla's still following the same pattern. Like you guys is still showing signs of a potential slight uptrend, right? Making highs of day right now. So congrats to all those in you guys. Just keep a very close eye out for it, with the understanding that it's been making lower highs, right? So something to take into consideration. Doesn't mean 100% that it's going to make lower highs, no, but just based off previous patterns, it would make sense on why it's a little bit more on the overbought side. So keep a very close eye for that RSI on this. Same thing with drip. Drip is trying to trend actively trend up. I have my alert set. It's just a waiting game as of now. For JDST, again, still actively trending down. Alert set at 50. We'll just have to follow up with it. And I think that's it. Congrats to all those that are in IO. Actually, it just pulled back. Yeah, so it just hit highs of 27.80 and it's pulling back a little bit, but it's been doing very well trying to hold above this SMA indicator. If you guys have noticed, when it actively trends up, it reacts very well to this SMA indicator and how it performs. So something to take into consideration. Wow, Tesla pulled back pretty hard. Can you guys see this? Maybe a bounce off the middle VWAP? Maybe, but I don't think that margin of profit is worth it from 305 to 310. It's 2%, not bad. I like that. Grabber Blue 71 is asking, hey Ricky, can I get a car decal for Tech Buds? Can we make that? I mean, like for the apparel and stuff like that, and all these like stickers and stuff. That is something that like we work on the side for fun, just because we know that some people do like repping like Tech Buds and stuff like that. So I 100% like really do appreciate you suggesting that. So we'll see if we can get anything done to push it out and stuff like that. And if so, then we'll get it out there. And if it takes a little bit longer, then I do apologize for that. So what's going on, Eddie? Hold on in there for us, brother. I like that. What's going on, Caleb? Happy to hear that you're able to do your due diligence. Drip is running. No, I mean, drip pushed up like about 4 cents. I wouldn't call that necessarily running. Let's see. Yeah, it's pushing up, which is great. But again, keep a close eye out for that SMA and then the top view up. Like it is actively trending up, and I think that's great. But yeah, Caleb, yeah, he says you're awesome and don't spoon feed. I like that. Car decals would be awesome. Where's my neck pillow? That's funny. You should make a video on LPP on how to grow your account and stop. I like that. So, Amber, I do apologize. Or Amr, you're saying like you should make a video on LPP on how to grow a backbone and stop being so depressing. I believe this pattern. I believe in the pattern, and all this negative chatter is killing my spirit. So yeah, it's just a talk that I feel like I have to have like with the group though, right? So. If you guys have watched any of the other videos, like we try to keep it fun and entertaining the entire time, and we always have a good time. But we always make mistakes, right? And I just have to, from time to time, remind people about the base rules, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, what happened to the wall poster? Yeah, so we do have certain wall posters that we already shared some in the Facebook group. So if you guys wanted to print that out, but we're gonna be working on like really cool like graphic design like wall posters as well. Okay. I like that, Jesse. I'm so happy to hear that. Zalman, thank you again. I appreciate that. So that is pretty much it for today, guys. I don't want to take too much of your guys' time. I'm not going to go live on what's it called on YouTube till much later. Probably not till like 11 or 12 or 10 to 11 a.m. Right now it's around 7:25 a.m. Mountain Standard Time where I'm from. So I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Again, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of stocks that are oversold, and we just have to take a step back and just be patient. I know, like, we've been actively almost like every single day, and I'm in those shoes as well. Like, we've almost been taking a position, like a 1-day swing trade position every single day. It's not even about that. Let's just remind ourselves that, again, it's about quality, patience, and making sure that there's a reversal confirmation before we actually take the overall position, and that if you are going to take a position, that you understand the overall pattern. So with that being said, I mean, that is really just it, that, kind of like what we wanted to cover today. And if you guys have any questions, you guys know how to reach out to me. So continue working hard, continue following your dreams, let your passion be what drives you in your success. Please go through the course and try to, so MU just broke about 5160. Please go through the course and start covering all the videos. We talk about like overall confirmations and all these different indicators that I think and patterns that I think can really assist you in better understanding like when's a good time to buy and when's a good time to sell. So I really do appreciate your guys' time. I hope that you guys all have an amazing day. I don't know how many dislikes this video has, but if you guys can like the video, great. If not, I totally understand. So thank you guys again, and like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.